You are watching a clip from the Sports and Sorts podcast.
Okay, so first thing we have to talk about is our main man, Mr. Joe Pacento.
Oh, he's on. He's already at it.
Good morning. Two questions. One, did Yankees sign Harper yet? And two, is Cashman still employed? Of course.
No and yes.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
We'll get to all that later. Don't you worry, Joe.
Yeah, I have.
We're on it. We're on it.
I have some thoughts on Harper and Machado today. If we get into it. But all right. So quick. Let's get into this real quick. We're gonna get to the MLB. It's gonna be a good chunk of the show, probably in about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we're going to probably spend most of the show on the Yankees, the MLB, and some some signings, some free agencies, some trades that could possibly go down. Michael Kay says some stuff, and we're going to talk about all that in just a little bit. But first, we got to get into not the game of the week. What the heck, Shane? Come on, get your head in the game. You're just on vacation.
Rusty. You're rusty. You got those vacation. You got that vacation rust to shake off.
This is like my Monday.
It's all right.
This is like my Monday here.
Yeah.
All right. So. Monday Night Football, quick recap. Cowboys, America's team, had a great first 12 minutes on Monday night, but it all went downhill from there. And the Titans ended up beating up on America's team with Marcus Mariota, who we have both said isn't a very good quarterback. I'm completely out on Mariota. I think you still have a little bit left. You're a little bit left on him.
It's a little bit. It's waning.
Yeah. And I have been out on Dak Prescott for a long time now, pretty much ever since he kind of got into the league. I just never liked what I saw. But the Titans beat the Cowboys 28-14, and although it was close late, the Cowboys were on a bye week, and they played like they were on a short week with backups. So the big question that came out of this was Troy Aikman. He had a little talk with, I don't know who this was with, but he definitely had a conversation, and I think I have the clip right here.
Jerry say, okay, look, we're going to do it differently. I'm going to do it differently. I can no longer, but it's the same. Nothing changes. And that to me is the bigger issue. Beyond, yes, coaching is important, personnel, all those things are important, but how are you going about evaluating? How are you going about running the organization? And whatever that looks like, and everyone has an opinion on what it does look like, but I'm not in the building. I have no idea. I talk to people. Who have been inside the building and have a pretty good understanding of how things are run. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of dysfunction. And that has to change if this team is going to be able to compete on a consistent basis like the teams that you look to around the league that seemingly are in the hunt each and every year.
So that was his clip right there. And basically he's just saying blow up the whole team. That's what it comes down to. He says he thinks that he should blow up the team. And I mean, I'm kind of with him. I say yes. I don't think it's in the same sense that a lot of people think of when they think of blowing up the team, though. I think that something like this is they shouldn't get rid of everyone. They should basically get rid of every single coach on their coaching staff, bring in a whole new coaching staff, bring in a legit GM who can handle Jerry Jones and his ego. Then look for your franchise quarterback, because Dak is not that. And so, yes, they need to blow up the coaching staff and they need to move on from Dak. Because Dak has a great running back. He has an improved wide receiving core. He has a decent O-line. He has a pretty darn good defense with a great front seven. I mean, those front seven can get to the quarterback and put a lot of pressure on them. He should be able to win, and he doesn't. So blow it up, and you will be better for next year. If Dak gets extended, the Cowboys are not going to win in the playoffs and won't get another chance at a Lombardi Trophy for the next several years. I think they could even be somewhere along the lines of getting like Teddy Bridgewater to gap for a year while they search for their franchise quarterback. Because Teddy Bridgewater, I believe, is a better quarterback than Dak right now. I think he has better tools, and I think that he could actually get them on the path with a younger quarterback. If they play bad, they could trade up for the number 1 overall pick instead of the Giants. Or they could trade with that. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Because the Giants might not get the first pick, and then it could really be whoever does get the first pick, whether it's the Raiders, the Bills, maybe the Cardinals. If those two guys don't get the first pick, they're going to trade away everything to get him. But Jerry Jones seems dead set on re-signing Dak, and I think that is going to be the detriment to him as an owner and that team for a long time to come.
Here's the problem with the whole concept of blowing it up in Dallas. Until Jerry has an epiphany and a little bit of self-awareness about himself and about his skill set as a general manager, his ability to blow it up is pretty much non-existent because he'll never just say to himself, you know what, I'm part of the problem here. I need to bring in a GM who can help guide the ship. I should be an owner like every other owner and just be an owner and not try and run the whole show. What he needs is an alpha male to come in as a GM and let that GM completely rebuild this team from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. Look, Jason Garrett's been the coach of this team since 2011. At some point, that's a pretty long run for an NFL coach, to be honest. Mm-hmm. That's a really, really good run. But if you think anything as a Cowboy fan, if you think anything's going to change at this point with Jason Garrett, and I've actually kind of given Jason Garrett the benefit of the doubt, I would say, for the last 2 to 3 years, because I think Cowboy fans have been calling for his head for a long time.
Me too.
I've kind of given him the benefit of the doubt because I want to see a team exercise patience with a coach. I think you need to go through a few cycles with a coach where that coach has to go through a number of different players. He has to be able to draft guys that he wants. Mm-hmm. He's got to be able to bring in free agents that he wants in of course, working in tandem with a general manager. But I think if you're Jason Garrett, you've had that opportunity. You've been there since 2011. You just haven't been able to move the needle. You had a really great season in the last couple where you finished 13-3, and that was your opportunity to really make some noise, maybe try and get to a Super Bowl. And what? I think the Cowboys didn't get ousted in the first round. Mm-hmm. Then now, granted, that wasn't such a bad. I think a lot of people weren't too upset about that because they were like, okay, we finished 13-3. Yeah, we got bounced in the first round, but we have really set ourselves up here for the future. Yeah. And they've done nothing but go backwards since. So
I think that 13-3 season, I think you could look back and say, because everybody was kind of looking at it when Tony Romo came in and played at such a higher level than Dak. Everybody was just kind of like, no. Dak is the real deal. Don't worry about it. But I think you got to see right then and there, like, okay, that small sample size of Tony Romo coming in and dominating during that time because he had the O-line, he had the running back, he had everything he needed, and they didn't allow him to continue to go. And Dak ended up playing well, but he had a great team around him. So
No, he did. But the bottom line is they've done nothing but go backwards since then. So to me, I think it's time to move on from Jason Garrett. I think Jason Garrett's a nice guy. I think he's a nice little puppet for Jerry Jones to, pull the puppet strings with. He's not a guy that's going to push back on Jerry Jones. Who's going to push back on Jerry Jones? The problem is the owner and the GM. I'm sorry, but if you're looking, I think at this point, if you continue to employ Jason Garrett and this coaching staff, you're essentially proving the definition of insanity, which is, when you keep doing the same thing but expecting a different result. I'm actually somewhat experiencing something similar as a Dolphins fan that just drove me bonkers the other day when Adam Gase, after a horrible win against the Jets. That's right. I said a horrible win because that's pretty much how Dolphins wins are. They're horrible. But after a horrible win against the Jets, he went out in front of the world and he said that Ryan Tannehill, after 7 years of seeing Ryan Tannehill is a 30-year-old man now. Mm-hmm. He still does not believe that we have seen Ryan Tannehill's ceiling after 7 years. Which just scares the crap out of me as a fan. If your coach is saying that, and I know that he's only been with Tannehill for 3 of those years, but you had 4 years of film to look at in the 3 that you've experienced, and granted for a year and a half of them he was out on injury. But if you think you haven't seen that guy's ceiling, oh my God, the Dolphins are in so much trouble. It's like that scene in My Cousin Vinny, where you got the car's stuck in the mud and one wheel's spinning, the other wheel's doing nothing. That's the Dolphins. That's how they are. They're just spinning their wheels in the mud. And the Cowboys, I think, are doing the same thing with Jason Garrett. It's just time to move on. You know what? You gave it a good run. And I actually give Jerry Jones credit for showing some patience with Jason Garrett. And if you're a Cowboys fan, the one thing you got to give Jerry is he gave Jason Garrett as long a leash as he could possibly get. And you have to commend him for that, because when I think of Jerry Jones, I don't usually think of a patient man. I think of a guy who wants to win and win now. Very almost like Steinbrenner-esque, you know? Yeah. So you got to get – Jerry is well within his rights to move on from Jason Garrett. But if he's going to really blow this thing up the right way, he needs to take himself out of the GM seat, put someone in there that he can trust, and let that person go. And do not micromanage that person. But the problem is, you're never going to see that. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to do that. He's not going to give up that seat until he's probably in the ground.
You can find Sports and Sorts on Facebook.com/Shane The Bri Man, where we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Also find audio-only versions of this podcast anywhere podcasts are played, or on our website at www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com.